Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing all of my favorite patriotic crochet patterns. The fun thing about crochet, you literally don't have to use it for that holiday. So a lot of these items, even if you're like, I don't really need things that are patriotic, you could easily switch out the colors and then make it however you want. So a lot of these are not limited specifically to being patriotic, but these are great patterns that if you are wanting to have those decorations or themes, these are my favorite patterns that I have done and tried out and tested out. So I'll help save you the hassle of trying to find a pattern and having to fight with AI and trying to find an actual pattern. So stick around. I will try to have my projects that I'm going to be sharing here from like the quickest / easiest all the way up to like the more time consuming or maybe more complicated. So I'll try to have that kind of at that range so that you newbies, you kind of have something at the beginning of this video, and then people that, you know, kind of work your way down. I can't promise that they're exact, but just from my understanding and kind of how much I understand crochet as someone who's been crocheting a while, if I struggle with it, it's going to be towards the end. So, because I've been crocheting for quite some time, so I want to kind of make it easy for you guys. Some of these items that I'll be sharing throughout the video, I will have listed in my shop. Just pay attention to this fun little bouncing little badge here I got on the screen. That'll let you know if it's currently in my shop as of the date of this video. I can't promise because a lot of my items are one item only. I don't make mass produce things, so it may not be available anymore. If this is a year or so later or a couple weeks later, it may not be available. But I do try to keep a lot of repeats in my shop. As things sell out, I try to replenish those items. So be patient with me. I am one person. It takes a lot to crochet, and I'm a girl with a million projects. But if you're interested and don't want to make these, that is another option for you as well. Also, I will have a little small list of affiliated links. I am affiliated through Amazon. So if you're wanting to help kind of support my channel, or if you're curious to check out the list and want to get yarn or crochet supplies, things like that, that's what I'll have listed down below. It is not required. Do not feel like you have to. It's just a way that if you are conveniently needing those supplies, it'd be a great way to support me and help me on this channel. If you can't support me that way, because I understand the economy is a lot, everything costs a lot, you are more than welcome to just watch this video to its entirety, comment, share it, like it, subscribing to my channel and liking all my other videos or watching my other videos all the way through tremendously helps me. So if you want to help me in a way that's a lot more convenient, just watching my videos is a fabulous way to help me and my channel. So without further ado, let's get to the first item. All right, first off we have is this crochet star wall hanging. Now the pattern credit for this goes to Truly Crochet. I'll have that link down below. With her pattern, you just make this star. She shows you how to make that, or at least it's a written pattern, so she does have it written down. Also, I chose a different way to go about mine. So hers was just a solid color, but I thought with it being kind of patriotic and to make it a little more fun, I decided to do multicolored little tassels here. With her tassels, I believe she says to make it like 20, I think it was like actually 32 inches long, which is way longer than this. I mean, I think it's way out here. I only did about 24 just because I thought that that was going to be extremely long. And this is something that I was planning on making to sell. So I didn't think somebody wanted a really long one. If you want long ones, go for it. I went with shorter, and you do end up trimming them a little bit anyway to make them all even. But overall, this was pretty simple. I think the biggest thing might be just doing some different stitches. So if you're still pretty new and you're not quite ready to be doing a bunch of like, I think double crochet is really what it is, and you just do a bunch of them in, it's kind of like a granny square kind of formation. Not quite, but you can tell that it does have very similar resemblance to a granny square when it comes to how you just kind of work things in groups like that. But overall it was not too complicated. And I also did my hanging different. I believe one of the strands that you use is what you use to tie this up, but I felt like it could look a little nicer, so all I did was chain 10. So I attached the yarn through this loop in here, so I kind of slip stitched it, chain 10, and then slip stitched it again and wove in my ends. So I felt like this was a way to kind of make it look a little nicer than just using a string. You're welcome to just use a string. I just didn't want to in this situation, and I just kind of thought it would go a little better with the star and kind of how we already have the chaining effect going on anyway. But you can make a bunch of these. You could do them in a bunch of different colors and then have them kind of hung up on your walls, or if you just want to do the star itself, you don't have to have the tassels. You can make little star ornaments. These even kind of give me the vibes that, since it's white, if you were to ignore my tassels here, kind of gives me the vibe of like snowflakes or stars. So if you're wanting to do something for like, whoops, for your Christmas tree, or just having specific ornaments that are stars. If you're doing a 4th of July tree, are there people out there that do 4th of July trees? Comment down below if you are a 4th of July tree decorator. I'm curious because I hear about the holiday trees, but I don't know anyone that actually does it. So if you do decorate your tree for the 4th of July, comment down below. I want to hear about your tree and what you're doing if you do all the different holidays. But overall, very beginner friendly. I feel like if you want to just kind of whip on something or work on something very simple, this for the most part was pretty simple. So I know I just showed you guys a star wall hanging. So this one is a completely different pattern where it's just a star. And so it's a very different technique. I can't say that this one's easier because there was a little bit, I think with this little round right here, that I did find it slightly complicated, but no worries. The creator has a tutorial on YouTube, so I'll have that linked. And watching her video, I was able to understand because I was so confused reading the written portion, but once I watched her video, I was like, oh, okay, we're just doing this. So it was actually very easy to follow. The pattern credit goes to Elise Rose Crochet. And what was really cool about her pattern, other than obviously you can make stars, was she had made it so you could make a little garland. So you could do a bunch of different colors. So you could do red, white, blue if you have multicolored red, white, and blue yarn. Or even if you don't want to do red, white, and blue, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, you could take any colors. So if you're doing a child's room or a nursery, pick whatever pastel colors or theme of the room. It'd be super cute. Or a child's room, if they have specific colors for their room, very cute. Or you could do all like traditional gold or yellow, whatever. I think it would be super cute just as a simple garland. Here's a picture of what hers looked like. I just was kind of testing out how the star worked and wanted to see if this would be a realistic pattern for you guys. But this is the garland that she had made, and I thought it was super cute, and definitely might end up making one myself and then listing it in my shop later. We'll have to see. But overall, very easy. If you're looking for something that's kind of simple and even something that can kind of break through your yarn stash, if you have a bunch of little small skeins, I mean, this will take a little bit, but if you're wanting to just kind of work through a lot of those, this is a great way to do that. All right, next up, this one is a patriotic bunting. So these are just some samples. The actual creator had done very similar to the last one where it was a garland, so you can kind of get really creative with the different colors. But this pattern credit goes to Lost in Crochet, and I thought it was pretty basic. It reminded me kind of like granny squares, but more working in the round, because you do kind of do your different colors, but it's more in the round. So if you're familiar with working in the round, this shouldn't be too bad. And you really just do your color, fasten off, attach your next color, and you really can pick whatever color schemes you want. So in this situation, I just did white, red, and blue, and then blue, white, and red, and I could even do one that's with red and then blue and then white. I mean, there's no real wrong way. And then again, like I said before, you can change out the colors. So you could do more spring, you can do more fall, you could do Christmas, you could do whatever holiday you want. You could do the same thing like I said with the last one, where you could do a color theme of a room that you're decorating or whatever theme you want to do. So this was really nice because there was no right or wrong way. This one was absolutely fantastic with using up scrap yarn, because I had some scrap yarn and was able to use it because it really does not take, as you can see, very much yarn. So, and then here's also the picture of her little patriotic bunting garland that I thought was super cute. So it's great for decorating your house if you're wanting to do it for 4th of July or for just a patriotic theme, or if your favorite colors happen to be red, white, and blue. But very easy, very quick. I was actually really surprised, and they just look really cool, actually, with the color scheme. I was actually really impressed. Kind of reminds me of like a flower here, this one especially. Right, next up, this is going to be kind of hard to show on camera, so I'll have to show some pictures of a better angle with these, but these are mason jar covers. The creator, or pattern creator, is Heart Hook Home. She did hers with, I think she had like the stars, and then she did like 2, and then these were great for like putting utensils in. So if you're having picnics or doing summer stuff, this is a great way to have something like that. Or if you're just kind of wanting maybe a bouquet of flowers you could do, or something as a centerpiece on your table or dining room table or on a shelf, these were kind of cool for that. These are pint jars, so this is not those giant quart ones. I will say, I think the hardest part for me was making the stars and also attaching them. I did struggle a little bit just trying to get those all in, and just it's tedious going around all of that. Also working on something that's kind of circular, so it was a little challenging. I think also my stars ended up way bigger than hers, which is fine and very common whenever I crochet. My stuff is always much bigger than the person, and it's probably because I'm usually using, this is acrylic yarn, so I think a lot of times people are using much thinner yarn or using like a 2-weight yarn or something. I don't typically have 2-weight yarn or 3-weight or whatever it is, or the DK, that's what it is, the DK yarn. I don't usually use that with a lot of my stuff, and it's not super common around where I live, so a lot of times my stuff's acrylic, so it's always a little bigger, but it still fit. It was more loose around my jars than I think it should be, but they still fit and they still look cute. But overall, not too bad if you're okay with working in the round, because you do just start on the bottom and then work your way. And this one just has a little bit of color change, whereas this one is you just make it and then make however many rows. So it is nice and fun if you're wanting to have something to kind of decorate your jars. Also, if you really don't want to do the patriotic stuff, this is great if you want to do stripes, so you can choose the different colors. Or if you want a solid color, so you can just follow her pattern and just do a solid color and do whatever colors you want. So that makes it very easy to make it for anything else. You're not limited to being patriotic if you don't want to. This is just a good foundation. That's something I do a lot with patterns. If I want to make something but I don't know and nobody has a pattern, a lot of times I'll just look for things that look similar and try to really use my imagination and think like, okay, if I wanted to do something pink and blue, well, there you go. This is all I would need to do, is just pretend and think in my mind that this could be changed pink or blue. Or if I wanted to do pastel colors for spring or fall or whatever, I just would have to follow this and have solid ones. So it's not limited to that. That's the fun thing about patterns, especially crochets. You're never limited to having to make that exact thing. You can always tweak and just switch out the colors and make what you really want to make. All right, now we're getting into some of my plushies. So this one is a Firecracker Popsicle, and this one is, pattern credit goes to Wonder Crochet. And I really like this one because I had made a different one before, and there really wasn't a whole lot of patterns. This was a couple years ago, but there really wasn't a whole lot of patterns for 4th of July stuff. So like I was making one, and then this one had probably coming out, you know, later. And I thought this one was really cute because it is one that you can kind of have set. I'll have to show you guys a picture of it sitting, but it does sit, and it just kind of puts a little different than the traditional, like here's a popsicle, here's something that you can kind of set up and just have as a cute little decor thing, or just even just a more unique plushie than the traditional popsicles. I feel like are always like this, so it added more character to it. You are just doing kind of color changing here, which I'm going to be real honest with you, pretty much all of the patterns in here are going to be color changing, because you are switching with red, white, and blue majority of the patterns I have. And then you have his legs, and then you have this part. But there's really not a whole lot of sewing, so if you're wanting a really low sew type of pattern, this is great. And other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You got the eyes and the mouth. But overall, I think very easy, quick project if you're wanting to kind of just make something and have something 4th of July or patriotic, or even this is great just for a summer piece. So all summer long you can have this set up from, you know, May all the way to September really. But I think he's really cute, and he always makes me smile when I see his cute little face. This was a first popsicle that I had done. These were the ones I did before that other one, because this is all I could find. And these are kind of fun because it's just kind of those rocket popsicles. but this one is called Crochet Bomb Pops. And the pattern credit goes to Cut Out and Keep. I do think this one might be a little more challenging because this is a slightly different stitch. I can't remember because it's been quite a while when I did this one. So I'd have to look and see what kind of stitch that is really quick, because you do use it kind of throughout here. But other than that, you have like your increasing and then decreasing and then adding your stick. So it looks like this is all done as one, so I don't think you have to do any sewing, just color changing. And once I figure out what the stitch is, that's another one that you'll have to figure out. But nice fun way if you kind of want to add that nostalgic and fun stuff for 4th of July or summer. Like I also said, you don't have to use the red, white, and blue. You can make these whatever color you want. So if you have specific popsicles, you can make it all one color. Or you can do whatever colors, because I know there's other colors of very similar popsicles. So there's other flavors that you like, or the person you're making it for likes. That is an easy swap out. No problem whatsoever. But these are just kind of fun because they do bring in that 4th of July nostalgia for me. Okay, so I went and looked to try and find what was going on with these special stitches here. And I'm so heartbroken because the website that this person had it on is no longer available. So I will not be able to be sharing this exact pattern. But thankfully, I found somebody that has a very similar pattern. It is a little different because it is more like a pen cozy. So this part's like really, really narrow. But you could easily adapt that to making it slightly bigger. But that pattern credit goes to Tweaky Chan. And these are front and back post double crochet type thing. Or half double crochet. Not double crochet. Half double crochet. So if you're a little unfamiliar with how to do the front post, back post, go check out my tutorial. I have tutorials for both front and back posts, just so you understand the concept of how the posts work. And then you just do a double crochet instead. So go check those out. I'll have them linked down below, and I might have them linked at the end of this video. So look for those. So sorry about that. It's really hard because some of the patterns that I've had for a while, but I guess people don't have their websites anymore, or they take things down. So I'm glad at least somebody had one that looks extremely familiar. So that'll really help, I think, to at least get you guys in that direction to have something that looks kind of like this, because it pretty much is. The only thing that's different is down here. So sorry. All right, next up I have are these 4th of July themed donuts. I tried to find if I had followed a specific pattern or not. I think when I was on Pinterest a couple years ago, I wanted to do 4th of July donuts, but there wasn't a pattern specifically, but I saw somebody that made something similar, and so I think I just based mine off of kind of what they had. But the donut pattern is one that I've been using forever. So the pattern credit goes to Jada and Stitches. She is here on YouTube. Very easy tutorial, very quick and fun to follow. So I'll have that linked down below. But I just kind of adjusted my colors when I was following her pattern, and then just kind of tweaked and add this stuff according to the picture I saw, which I don't think I'm going to be able to find again because it was several years ago. This one is an acrylic yarn, so if you guys have a Walmart, that's typically where I'll get my sparkle yarn like this. So I did that. And then these are just regular acrylic, and I just kind of sewed on. So I sew on I think I did before I put this on, but it's also possible that I sewed everything on and then did the sprinkles just so I could see how they would be placed. And then these are the same way, I think, too, as I waited until I attached that. But they whip up really fast, and the donuts are actually really cute, and sometimes I actually think they look very realistic. They make you pretty hungry, I feel like. But overall, pretty fun way that you can make whatever colors you want, because I have made other colors of donuts, and you can do all sorts of things and add all sorts of sprinkles to them. So very customizable, very easy to kind of tweak it out, and you could still do stars on something if you wanted. I mean, like I said, it's not limited to 4th of July. You could do this for anything. You could do drizzle for whatever. It doesn't have to be, but I did it for the stripes. Like I said, it's not limited. All right, I'm going to struggle trying to fit this one on the screen here. So I'll show you guys an actual picture because it's got this long strap and everything. But this one is it's called a Star Spangled Bag. This pattern credit goes to Crochet 365 Knit 2. And so this is just a fun little bag. I really liked this one because I've been trying to up the quality of a lot of my bags in my shop. So this one had some hardware that I could use. In her picture, she has you using star like buttons that you could sew on. I was looking because I was trying to get everything at Walmart, so I didn't see that Walmart had any in the store. They definitely had some online that you could get. I'm sure Michael's or any other craft store has them as well. So if you don't want to have to sit and crochet all these stars, because that was kind of a pain to be honest, but I did still do a button for this part, whereas I think in her pattern she just has you use an actual star button, but it still worked out nonetheless. And I kind of like just how cute it turned out. And I left the inside. You do kind of see where I sewed the stars, but I thought it was nice to keep the striped effect because, you know, it is American flag. And the strap was fun because it was a different technique. I think this is the puff stitch. So it was something that I felt like would be a little sturdier. Because some bags, they just have you do like single crochet, and you do worry about over time or the weight. Like they do stretch and eventually get kind of weak, I think, after a while, and can eventually get to a point where they would break. This is made with cotton yarn, so the likelihood of that happening is going to be a little less, I would hope. Cotton's usually sturdier and stronger, so that's my hope with this. But yeah, so when it comes to the yarn, I ended up using, because I know she said to use cotton yarn, and I, like I said, was working with Walmart, so all of my options were just peaches and cream. And so I just bought their small skeins here that are, you know, 2.5 ounces. So this is how much I had left. And I didn't do my stars, as you can kind of tell, it's a slightly different color for a very good reason. This cotton yarn is pretty stiff, so making the stars didn't look quite right. So it just didn't look right when I was making them. So I was like, I'm just going to switch to the acrylic. It's a little more softer to work with. So I did that instead. So maybe if you're going to go the route I did with making the stars, maybe try to have not so stiff of a cotton. So peaches and cream, I think, is a more tougher one. I think this brand has a slightly softer one, but I can't be so sure. I don't use a lot of cotton yarn, so I can't be an expert on that one. But I know there are other options of cotton that aren't so stiff. So if you can try to find that, that would be probably much better. And then this is how much of my red that I had left. So you do use quite a bit of red for the stripes. And then blue, I literally had almost none left. And these were all the small skeins here. So I was able to use all the small ones just to make this one bag. And you can get these clips at Walmart. I got a 3-pack at Walmart, so there's only one left. I wish they would have sold 4, because then I could make another bag, but I guess that's how they do it, you know, they intentionally make you have to buy more than you have to. But overall, this was a very quick workup. I liked how basic it was. I mean, the color changing, you just literally are color changing. Once you make your little round on the bottom here, you just color change all the way up. So it's pretty beginner friendly. I think all of it is using single crochet. I know these are a little different. And then the puff stitch, but I'm pretty sure she tells you how to do that, because I didn't know how to do it, and I was able to follow the pattern to do it. But overall, I will say probably one of the easiest bags that you can make. Just probably more time consuming, because you do have quite a lot of stitches that you're continuously working all the way around. I can't remember. I think it's like 70 stitches or 72 all the way around. But you're just color changing. So this is a good way that if you're kind of good with color changing and you know how to do it, that you can kind of do it. Because mine is right here. You probably can't quite tell, but my color changing happened all the way along here. But definitely something that if you didn't want to do for a patriotic thing, you could do whatever colors, stripes. And the fun thing is just swap out. So if you don't want to have a solid color up here, you could choose whatever colors, and you can keep doing the stripes all the way to she says to stop. You also could just do stripes, whatever color you want, and then have whatever solid color you want. So this does not have to be patriotic again. Like I said, you could easily swap out any color you want and then completely take out the stars and then just have the button. It would still be a very cute bag. Alright, this bag is even bigger than the last one, so I know it will not fit on this screen. So you guys are going to have to see the pictures that I'm going to show and share with this one. So I don't believe this one was supposed to be quite this big, but again, I used acrylic yarn to make this. I believe the pattern says use cotton. So I was really trying to work with what I had for this one, just because I was going to have to buy, I was buying stuff for the other bag, but then I also had to buy some fabric to line the inside of this bag. So I was trying to not break the bank getting a bunch of supplies. And I also already had these colors in acrylic. So I just went ahead and went with this whole little ordeal. This pattern credit goes to Crafting Each Day. Now, I will be really honest with you. If you're a beginner, this is not the bag you want to do. I would stick with the other bag. This one was very challenging for me personally, and I think it was more so just I struggle with working in an oval because of stitch counting, and it was written very weird for me. So I really struggled with trying to get the stitch count, and there was a lot of increasing and decreasing. So if you're going to do this bag, really pay attention to how these curves are being done, because it can get extremely confusing because you're doing like single crochet, double crochet, and then it changes. Like you have your own group of stitches that you're supposed to do, but it changes a little bit. So it can be a little confusing, and I really struggled with this little portion, just getting this foundation right. The rest of it wasn't so bad. Once I figured out how to do the shell stitch and all that, that was not a problem at all. That was really easy. And then this is just double crochet, and then you just keep repeating. So this was probably the base, was probably the part I struggled with the most, because like I said, the stitch counting was really tricky for me to just get that right. But overall, worked up very nicely, as you can see. And I really liked this bag as an idea to do multiple colors and such. So stick around, like watching on my channel and stuff. It'll be in the future, but I do plan to make a video on a bunch of crochet bags, and I do hope to include a different color setup for this one, not just the whole patriotic. I do plan to have something different. So stick around and subscribe, because I do plan to have that in the future months coming up. So watch for that. But I went ahead and lined it because that's what she did with hers, and I've been a huge fan of lining my bags because it makes it look so much nicer. And something like this, where it has so many holes, it just makes it so that you're not losing your pens or things aren't poking through. Like, it just makes things so much easier. I wasn't able to do a pocket with this one. Normally with bags this big, I would like to put maybe a pocket so things aren't like way down in here. But I only got 2 fat quarters for this because I was working with Walmart. I don't have a lot of fabric shops around my area right now, so I don't have a lot of options for fabric, and Walmart did not have what I was envisioning. I wanted something with, like, because this is going to be a bag and there was only so much blue. So my mind was like, oh, it'd be so cute if I had a bunch of like little stars, like fabric with some stars on it, like little stars. They had one with the giant stars, like if I wanted to make American flag. And I just didn't want to do that. I felt like it was a little much, just in my opinion. But I was able to find fat quarters that had these polka dots like this, and I thought this would go really well. And it barely worked with this bag. But if you have cotton and follow maybe what she does, like with her yarn that she uses, I don't think you'll have the problem I had, and probably 2 fat quarters would be like enough. And you probably would be able to make a pocket too if you wanted to. But I can give a tutorial if you guys are interested on how I line my bags, because I feel like the way I line mine, first of all, I'll be real honest, I am not an expert on sewing. I'm still kind of winging things because I'm kind of self-taught. So I kind of have my own way that I go about lining them. But I could at least do a tutorial if you guys are interested on how I hand sew, because I do hand sew this all the way around. And I've done quite a few bags like this now. So if you guys are really curious on how I go about doing it, comment down below and I'll make a tutorial. But this is really cute. This kind of makes me have like beach vibes. Like if you wanted to take this to the beach, this definitely would be a good bag for that. Because it just kind of, I don't know, just kind of gives me that summer vibe of just throw your stuff in. And because it's lined, you know, you can wash it. It's acrylic yarn. It's something that would be pretty easy to keep maintained, you know. But I will say, like I said before, it is a little tricky at the beginning. But once you make a bunch of them or make something more than once, it's usually not so bad. And you get better. Same thing with like lining my bags. It's gotten better because I've done it for a while. So a lot of times you just have to keep practicing something and learning as you go. That's the whole point about making mistakes, is you learn from them. But in the end, because you've practiced and you've tried and you've learned what doesn't work, you end up finding a way that does work. So don't let big projects intimidate you. I mean, I was a little intimidated with this project when I first saw it. Well, I wasn't intimidated when I first saw it. I was more intimidated while I was doing it, especially with that part that really, really was hard for me. But I really wanted my end result, and that's what made me stick with this, because I really wanted to see it lined, and I had a vision. So sometimes you have to remember why you're doing something. Even if it's hard, you can still stick it out and make it happen. And last off we have is the American flag grafkin, or blanket, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not going to really cover this one a whole lot, because I do have a video where I go completely in depth with how I went about making it and all that kind of stuff. But I will just kind of briefly talk about it in this video. So this American flag blanket, it was actually one of the first blankets I ever made. And it was very hard in a way because I wasn't super familiar with making blankets. I made a lot of 3D things and worked in the round a lot, so I wasn't super familiar with that. So it was something I struggled a little bit with that, but it was pretty basic when it came to, just because it had color changing. So like a lot of the projects that you saw today in this video, it's all color changing. So the biggest thing is it's huge. So you will need a lot of yarn to make this, and it will take you quite a bit of time because it is so big. But if you're wanting to have something like what I have, because I drape mine on my couch around the summertime, so for 4th of July, Memorial Day, all those fun holidays, I like to have it kind of set up on my couch as kind of just like a little blanket throw. But it was overall a really fun project. So if you're interested in making a blanket like that, or you've seen them before, but you kind of want to know a little bit about the overall project of making something like that, check out my video. It's more of a project overview, so I will talk about, you know, things I learned, my problems, things that I would recommend, etc., etc. I'll have the video linked down below, but I'll also have the video at the very end of this video where you can just click right on it and it'll take you right there. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful in helping you start your next patriotic project, or maybe a lot of the recommendations that I suggested throughout the video about how to kind of color change it to something that could be more fitting for any other occasion. Let me hear about it. Drop down what you might make from a lot of these patterns. Is there something that I inspired you, or is there something that you have already been wanting to do, but this video reminded you of that? I want to hear about it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button. There's also a share button, so if you want to share this with somebody you know that is very into crocheting or crafting, and you think that they would love this video, send it to them. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell icon next to it, so make sure that's turned on. That way you'll be notified next time I post another video. And as always, happy crafting and keep creating beautiful things. Until next time, everyone, bye!